Most people spend their entire lives trying to belong. You're about to remember who you were before the world tamed you. You've been trained to be weak, to be polite, to stay small. But this video isn't here to comfort you. It's here to kill the version of you that was built to be accepted, so the one built to dominate can finally rise. You don't need more motivation. You don't need another quote on your feed telling you to believe in yourself. What you need is truth, sharp, unsettling, and irreversible. If you give me just a few minutes of your time, I'll do something far more powerful than inspire you. I'll expose the lie you've been living under. That thing you call weakness, it's not a flaw, it's a script. One that's been running in your mind for so long, you've mistaken it for your personality. You've repeated these lines so often, "I'm not ready, I'm too emotional, I just need more time," that you don't even question them anymore. But here's the twist. The real you has never been weak. You've just built your identity on fear, on patterns, on survival mechanisms that kept you comfortable but powerless. The version of you that's capable, it's already there, buried beneath excuses, distractions, and lies. And now, if you can sit with discomfort long enough, if you can hear this without flinching, we can dig it out. Not to build something new, but to uncover what's already waiting to be unleashed. Let's be clear. Your weakness is not a fact. It's a story, a defense mechanism, a disguise you've worn so long you forgot you were in costume. You're not fragile. You're not broken. But you are domesticated. Trained to be soft. Trained to be agreeable. Trained to survive by staying small. You think weakness is feeling too much? No. Nietzsche would tell you that weakness is submitting to what you feel. It's building your life around permission. It's measuring your worth through other people's understanding, when most people don't even understand themselves. Every time you silence your truth to avoid conflict, every time you pretend you're okay to keep the peace, every time you call fear humility or laziness self-care, you reinforce the illusion, the lie, the cage. Weakness isn't something you're born with. It's something you were taught to wear. But here's the truth. You can take it off. Anytime you decide to stop lying to yourself. Nietzsche didn't waste time comforting the masses. He didn't sugarcoat life. He didn't write for the overly sensitive or perpetually offended. He wrote for the rare ones, the few ready to confront existence as it is, not as we wish it were. He believed most people lie to themselves their entire lives just to avoid responsibility. They wait for saviors. They call weakness virtue. They use trauma as an excuse to stop evolving. But Nietzsche didn't have patience for that, and neither should you. His words were fire, burning away illusion, forcing you to stare at the raw, uncomfortable truth. No one is coming to save you. You have to rise, not because it's fair, but because it's necessary, because no one else can walk your path. And if you're here, if you're still listening, it means you're done with the softness, the pretending, the waiting. You're ready to step into discomfort, to stop asking for safety, and to start choosing power. You don't need to become someone new. You don't need to reinvent yourself. That's the lie the self-help industry keeps selling you, that you're not enough, that you need fixing. But the truth is, strength isn't something you build, it's something you uncover. Under all your hesitation, beneath all the guilt, the overthinking, the fear, you already know who you are. You've just buried it to survive. And now, the longer you wait, the deeper that version of you gets buried under layers of passivity and approval seeking. This isn't your evolution. This is your return. Your return to clarity, to force, to direction. The version of you that didn't care about being liked. The one that moved without asking. The one that had boundaries before the world taught you to apologize for them. You're not becoming something. You're remembering something. And that memory, it's what the world's been trying to erase in you since the beginning. Your weakness isn't accidental, it was engineered. Your education taught you to obey, not to think. Your culture taught you to conform, not to create. Your media feeds you endless distractions, so you never have time to question who you're becoming. Even the people who say they love you, many of them benefit from your softness, your silence, your hesitations. They reward you for being agreeable, for being manageable, for not disrupting the system. Because as long as you stay good, they stay comfortable. You being predictable keeps their world in order. But that comfort they praise, it comes at the cost of your power, your clarity, your edge. Nietzsche saw this. He saw how society molds you to be polite, polished, obedient, and forgettable. And now it's time to reject that mold. Time to stop being a pet and become the force you were born to be.
You've been taught that emotion is weakness, that crying, hesitating, or feeling deeply makes you fragile. But that's not weakness. That's human. The real weakness is deeper and more dangerous. It's what happens when you betray yourself for comfort. Weakness is knowing what you want and lying about it. It's sacrificing your truth to avoid being judged. It's calling your fear humility and your indecision openness. It's cloaking your insecurity in empathy just to stay liked. Every time you abandon your instincts to meet someone else's expectations, you weaken. Not because you feel, but because you fold. Because you outsource your self-worth to people who haven't earned the right to define you. And if that stings, good. That means you're starting to see the difference. Feeling is not weakness, but betraying your truth to stay safe, that is. The world has no interest in making you strong. In fact, it profits from your softness, from your doubt, from your silence. Weak people buy more, fear more, need more, and the systems around you are designed to keep you that way. Your school didn't teach you how to think critically, it taught you how to follow rules. Your job doesn't want you empowered, it wants you compliant. Even your entertainment is engineered to numb you, not awaken you. And the people closest to you? Many benefit from your hesitation. They like you uncertain. They like you agreeable. Because when you stay small, they don't have to confront their own limitations. So understand this. Weakness is not just your personal issue. It's a product, one that's been sold to you since birth, and it's time to stop buying it. There was a version of you, wild, honest, unapologetic, that existed before the world trained you to sit still. That version questioned everything, took up space, spoke without apology. But society doesn't like that version, so they tamed it. They told you not to interrupt, not to be too loud, not to want too much. They called it manners. They called it maturity. But really, it was just the start of your domestication. Nietzsche saw this coming. He warned about the tribe, about the group that demands you neuter yourself to keep their comfort intact. He knew the moment you trade your instincts for approval, you become a replica of who you were meant to be. Now's the time to remember, to unlearn the false politeness, to reconnect with the voice you buried just to be accepted. Because no one powerful ever stayed tame. You've been praised for being nice, for being the bigger person, for being understanding. And over time, you started believing that being liked meant being good, that silence meant strength, that shrinking meant virtue. But here's the truth. You didn't earn respect. You earned usefulness. They liked you because you didn't challenge them, because you were easy to be around, predictable, safe. And in the process, you confused your lack of resistance with moral superiority. But moral superiority without power is just impotence dressed in good intentions. Goodness, real goodness, is built on strength, on clarity, on the willingness to say no. And if you've never said no without guilt, then maybe you've never actually been good, just agreeable. Strip it all away. The performance, the mask,
the careful editing of your personality to avoid rejection. Who are you without the need to be liked? Most people don't know. They've built their identity on feedback loops, saying what others want to hear, doing what earns praise, molding themselves into what gets applause. But that isn't selfhood, that's survival. Nietzsche would say, if your truth disappears the moment someone disapproves of it, it was never truth, it was manipulation. You weren't being authentic, you were negotiating for acceptance. So ask yourself, if no one needed you to be nice, if no one expected you to play safe, what would you demand? What would you say? Who would you become? Because until you can answer that without fear, you're not living. You're just performing. You've called it burnout. You've called it fatigue. You've said you just need more rest. But what you're really feeling, that gnawing restlessness, that deep frustration that won't go away, is not exhaustion. It's repressed power. It's what happens when your instincts keep screaming, but your habits keep silencing them. It's the quiet fury of living below your potential, of biting your tongue when you want to roar, of obeying when everything in you wants to lead. This isn't about needing a vacation. It's about needing a rebirth, a return to the edge you dulled in order to be more tolerable, more manageable, less threatening. That pressure inside you, that tension, that's not a flaw. That's your truth trying to break through. Don't medicate it. Don't numb it. Listen to it. You weren't made to be agreeable. You weren't made to be digestible. You were built for impact. But along the way, someone told you that being dangerous made you bad. That intensity needed to be softened. That power needed to be hidden. So you adjusted. You lowered your voice. You filtered your thoughts. You smiled when you didn't feel like it. And little by little, you buried the part of you that made others uncomfortable because you thought that made you good. But being good isn't about being liked. It's about being real, being clear, being so grounded in your truth that even silence commands attention. Nietzsche didn't preach chaos. He preached presence, not violence, but force. And if you've forgotten how to take up space without apologizing, it's time to remember. Every day you wake up, you make a decision, lead or be led. But most people don't choose. They roll over, grab their phones, and immediately start reacting to other people's lives. They surrender their sovereignty before they even get out of bed. Nietzsche warned, "He who cannot obey himself will be commanded." And your daily habits prove this. Weakness isn't loud, it's subtle. It's hidden in routines that feel normal, but slowly erode your discipline, your clarity, your presence. You say it's harmless, just a scroll, just a delay, just a little comfort, but it compounds. Every compromise trains you to be passive. Every moment you choose reaction over intention, you give your power away. Take back your mornings. Don't reach for the screen, reach for your spine. Breathe like you own the day. Walk like the room is already yours. Start before the world can distract you, and you'll remember what it feels like to command. Power isn't just in how you act, it's in how you speak. And most of the time, you're leaking it without even knowing. You soften your tone, you downplay your certainty. You end your sentences like questions instead of declarations. You say, "I don't know," when you do. You say, "sorry," when there's nothing to be sorry for. You say, "maybe," when the answer is no. And every time you do, your authority fractures. Your voice fades. Nietzsche didn't whisper. He wrote with fire. Not because volume is strength, but because clarity is. When you speak with precision, people feel it. When you speak without permission, they listen. And when you let silence follow your words, they remember. Stop softening. Say what you mean. Say it once. And let the weight of your presence carry what the noise of others never could. You've been told that being strong means feeling nothing, that real power is about coldness, distance, detachment. But that's not control. That's dysfunction. That's trauma disguised as toughness. Nietzsche didn't teach numbness.
He taught command. Emotional power isn't about denial, it's about dominance. Feeling everything but never being ruled by it. Being aware without being reactive. Being sharp without being fragile. When someone disrespects you, you don't need to explode. You don't need to chase. You don't need to explain. You observe, you decide, and when you move, you do it with precision. This is what most never learn. Strength isn't the absence of emotion, it's the ability to direct it like a weapon. Clean, cold, surgical.
You've been through things. We all have. But if you're still using your pain to explain your stagnation, you're not healing, you're hiding. Nietzsche didn't dismiss suffering, he dismissed submission to it. You were hurt, you were betrayed, you were broken. But that's not the end of the sentence, it's the start of your forge. Pain is not your identity, it's your raw material, and what you do with it determines everything. Stop introducing yourself as your wounds. Don't say, "I survived." Say, "I'm dangerous because of it." Don't say, "I'm damaged." Say, "I'm sharpened." Every scar is a blade, if you learn how to wield it. No one's coming to thank you for surviving. They want to see what you build with it. Your story is not a tragedy, it's a weapon. Use it. It's brutal, but it's true. The world won't stop spinning because you're in pain. It won't slow down for your healing. It respects force, not feelings. And that's not cruelty, it's nature. You think you deserve respect because you've suffered? You don't. You get respect when you rise. When you transmute the pain into presence. When you walk into a room and no one doubts who you are because they can feel what you've endured. You don't owe the world your vulnerability, you owe it your transformation. Because every second you spend explaining your wounds to gain sympathy is a second you're not sharpening yourself. Let them underestimate you. Let them forget what you've survived. Then show up as something they can't ignore. Quiet, grounded, unshakable. You've spent your whole life trying to belong. You bent, you adapted, you dimmed. Not for love, but for acceptance. That dull, empty version of connection that comes from being tolerable, harmless, predictable. But Nietzsche said, you must be willing to stand utterly alone if you are ever to truly know yourself. Because most people don't want the real you. They want the version of you that doesn't challenge them. So let them go. Stop shrinking for chairs you were never meant to sit in. Stop begging for tables you've outgrown. Build your own. And if no one joins you, good. More clarity, more space, more self. You can't be free and be dependent on their approval. Solitude is not a punishment, it's a weapon, and you're going to learn to use it. You think you procrastinate because you're lazy. You think you self-sabotage because you lack discipline. But that's not it. What you're dealing with is hidden loyalty, a subconscious contract with your own limitations. Somewhere in your past, you learned that shining too brightly pushed people away, that ambition led to isolation, that standing out came with consequences. So you shrunk, you delayed, you played small to stay safe. But survival has an expiration date, and this version of you, overthinking, hesitating, explaining, is overdue. You don't owe your past self protection, you owe your future self truth. It's time to break the contract. Rip it up. No more playing down your edge. No more guilt for growth. The world doesn't need your softness. It needs your fire. You've heard enough. More importantly, you've felt enough. There's no going back now. Because once you remember who you really are, you can't return to who you were pretending to be. This isn't motivation. This is memory of your power, your clarity, your calm. The version of you that doesn't ask for permission, that doesn't flinch, that doesn't perform, only moves. But here's the price of remembering. You either evolve or you start lying. You either rise or you fall back into the same cages you just escaped. So guard this. Build your days around it, speak from it, walk from it, and protect it from everyone who still benefits from your silence. Because this isn't inspiration, this is war, and your life is what's at stake.